Just do paper chase marathons.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tribe Called Curl. I'm Imani of Tribe Called Curl, and I am here with the amazing dynamic duo behind the upcoming film Paper Chase, which is a coming-of-age teen comedy with a female lead, a black female lead, which we have never before seen. So please join me in welcoming Angela Tucker and Lauren Domino to the tribe.
Hi.
I am so excited to hear and speak to you guys about the project. First of all, I love teen movies. I grew up on John Hughes, totally dating myself. It's okay. I'm old. I own that. Growing up, I loved movies like Heathers. I loved every single thing that John Hughes did, but I also felt like black girls weren't represented at all. I think in the 90s, they sort of added black girls as savvy sidekicks, but...
Yeah, like the sassy black friend.
Exactly. Yeah. But there was never a lead, so I never felt like a point of view that I could relate like most directly to existed. So I'm so thrilled that you guys have created one. Yay!
Yay!
I want to start off right now just by talking about your collaboration. Like, how did you guys get together to work on a project like this?
Well, I'll do the intro to like how we met. So I was living in New York and working for a documentary film company that Angela used to work for. So this is maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And everyone just kept saying, I was new there, and they were like, oh my God, you've got to meet Angela Tucker. You've got to meet Angela Tucker. You guys will get along so well. And they were telling Angela the same thing. And I think in the back of our heads, we're like, okay, you just want us to meet because we're black girls with curly hair and glasses. And, like, really? Come on. But we met, and we were like, oh my gosh, everyone was right. Like, we get along so well. So flash forward, I leave New York, and I move to New Orleans. And Angela is visiting New Orleans, deciding to move, and she has this really great plan about wanting us to write a movie together, and specifically wanting it to be a teen movie. And I just jumped right on board. I was like, absolutely, because like you, Imani, I love teen movies, and there was never anyone that looked like me. Like in the 90s, you had Gabrielle Union as like this sassy black friend, but I could never identify with that because she was like always in the cool crowd, and it was like not the lead character. So it was like,
no,
yes.
Absolutely. She was the side girl that could be an enemy, but once you got beneath the sassy exterior, you realized she was a good girl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. True.
And then, you know, I was just thinking that we did have Love and Basketball, which I guess was a teen movie, but it was a love story and a drama, and it was an amazing movie and one of my favorites. But there really wasn't anything funny about it, except for that's not true. There were some really funny moments. I take that back.
Going to prom,
but it was not a comedy, which is, you know, it's a genre in to itself. So, Angela, tell me what made you decide that you wanted to write this kind of movie with Lauren?
Well, you know, just to chime in with what you guys have been saying, you know, I love teen movies, and I just have been feeling like there's been a renaissance somewhat with teen movies, but we're still in the same position where they still don't have black female protagonists, and it's really weird. And I knew that I really felt like I could bring something to that genre, and I felt like Lauren and I had very similar senses of humor, and Lauren's a little younger than I am, so like maybe she'll be closer to be able to write the language that I can write. That was also something I was thinking of, and I just feel like we sort of had the same references, and figured we would just work well together because we were already friends, and we were both kind of hard workers, so I knew that. And we're the kind of people who like get things done. I also kind of was like, I want to kind of take this journey with Lauren because she is going to make it happen, and we're both going to make it happen, you know? So, and I think we were both invested, in addition to the teen genre, in making a film that was going to be shot in New Orleans and depict sort of contemporary New Orleans life. Like a lot of films use New Orleans as kind of a backdrop, and so it's like the French Quarter and like beignets, but nobody really kind of shows what contemporary New Orleans life is like. So we both had both of those directives in mind when we were thinking about, the story for Paper Chase.
That sounds amazing. Can you give us a quick synopsis of the film and what folks can expect from it?
Yes, of course you would ask that question. Paper Chase is a teen comedy. It follows Alicia, who's an awkward girl who is just kind of ready to leave where she's from, and she finds out that she has an outstanding housing bill, and she and her best friend Jamila decide that they're gonna throw a house party to kind of raise the money. And Alicia's mother, Valerie, is also kind of a single mom and trying to work hard to raise this money for Alicia to go to school. So it takes place kind of over really probably a couple weeks overall, but a bulk of the party is kind of about that last weekend of school where you're about to go to college and everyone's kind of going off in their different directions, and how you kind of reconcile where you're from and all of that.
So tell us a little bit more about Alicia, because there is nothing more endearing to me as an awkward woman who was once an awkward teenage girl than a fellow awkward Black girl.
Yes. So Alicia is, I can take it. So Alicia is, extremely awkward. She's a little pretentious, I think, in a sense that she doesn't really fit in with the cool kids. So she sort of uses her intellect as a shield for people that can be very off-putting, at times. And she just has this goal and idea of the future and her mindset. So sometimes in her looking forward, she forgets to look to the periphery and witness all the good things around her. And I think that that's something, that I can really relate to the character of Alicia, because I'm, from New Orleans, and as a high schooler, I couldn't wait to get out. And I think that my desire to want to leave and do all these things was a little alienating to other people, because you're just I'm making these decisions. And sometimes when you make hard decisions like Alicia does in this film, it sort of seems like an indictment on other people. And she doesn't have the necessary set of social skills to comb that over. Mm-hmm. So we find her in a scenario where everyone's just not too hot on her as a person. And thank God she has her best friend Jamila, who is not awkward and a really a social butterfly and can connect with any and everybody to sort of help her throw this party and help people also re-engage and like Alicia again before she leaves and goes to school.
Well, hopefully one of the things that she won't have to deal with was the sound of what we call in New York a ghetto bird overhead. Sorry, I don't know if y'all caught that, but there was definitely a helicopter, a police helicopter above.
Oh, goodness.
Well, one thing I just wanted to chime in about too is the film's also really about the power of friendship and of sort of highlighting Black female friendship in a kind of non-catty way. And it's not, their friendship isn't about boys. Their friendship is about looking out for one another. And there's not a lot of catty fighting about stuff. They have a strong bond, and that's something we wanted to highlight as well.
That's so exciting. I actually wanted to ask about that, because generally when we see Black women, particularly young Black women depicted these days, it's always in some sort of confrontational, contentious way. So tell us a little bit more about the friendship between Alicia and Jamila. What kind of makes them click, and why would Jamila, as a cool girl, be attracted to an Alicia as a friend? Did she feel bad for her?
Well, I think they became friends very young. So they have kind of one of those friendships that has endured over time. And so they both have changed a lot. And so I think that is something that's happened where Alicia is kind of in her own kind of nerdy crew, and Jamila has her own scene, and she's kind of a fashionista. But having bonded at such a young age is what keeps them together. And they have sort of this bond that transcends social circles. But there is some friction, because Jamila has sort of made a decision to go to school in New Orleans and stay here and loves where she's from. And so having Alicia's attitude of feeling I need to get out of here is something that becomes an issue between them during the film. But, it's something that they're kind of working out. And that was something that, I think people can relate to in terms of that time where you're about to go off to college and you have sort of your closest friends and you can feel that you have this identity and you're ready to kind of break out of the identity. And I think they both are at that point where they're like, I was seen as this person in high school. Now I want to kind of break off and be a different person. And so they're both kind of struggling with that as well.
Well, coming of age is never easy, even in a comedy. I'm just wondering a little bit more about Alicia. Like, is she, like, in terms of her quirks, like, is she super into, like, comic books weird, or is she just, like, adorable, but I say inappropriate things weird? Or awkward, I should say.
She's super into she wants to study robotics, so she's really into building robots in her spare time and playing things like Settlers of Catan with her friends. So she's full on nerd,
Best kind of nerd is a STEM nerd.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, for me, some of the most rewarding parts of this whole coming of age comedy genre is seeing romance. And I have to ask, are we going to see a little love for Miss Alicia? Is there someone who's an object of her affection or not?
Well, she begins the film with a boyfriend who named Jeremy, who is also a nerd, but he's graduated. So he works at the local sort of coffee shop and is an artist, and they're together. But it's that they kind of have to work through going to college and how that's going to work. And there's also the mom has a pretty large storyline too. So the mom has some romance in the film as well.
Okay. So in terms of films that were you guys' sort of inspiration, like what did you draw from in the canon? Not saying that you are specifically referencing films, but what specific films influence your vision of how a teen comedy should be?
Well, there's a bunch. I'll say a few, and I'm sure Lauren will pipe in with some. Well, first and foremost, you got to shout out House Party because that was really, growing up, that was kind of the only teen film I can remember that had all, like, pretty much entirely black characters in it. Yeah. So that was a real influence to us. Obviously there's a House Party, and then particularly with kind of the storyline of the dad having his own thing going on and the shenanigans around the party. So that was a big influence. And then also Superbad was another one, which is kind of a later film. But, the way Superbad depicts those two lead characters, Michael Cera and Jonah Hill's characters' friendship, that's really the love story of the film, is their friendship in Superbad. And I think for Paper Chase it's similar. I think the real love story is kind of Jamila and Alicia. And there are other things that happen with boys, but their friendship is at the core of the movie.
That's amazing, actually. I think as much as I would like to see some smooching.
Yeah, no, there's some smooching. There's smooching, but it's not it's not like 16 Candles. She's not sitting around and there's Jake Ryan and Who Really Noticed Me. It's not quite.
Totally managing my expectations. Thank you.
I know, that's why I was like, whoa, I don't.
No, actually what I was going to say is that it is much more important for us to show the kinds of sisterhood bonds that can exist between black women and young black women. So I think that is really amazing. I'm totally excited. I'm looking forward to it. So you guys have, you've written the film, you're crewing up. What made you decide to crowdfund at least part of your project?
Cool. So crowdfunding is a really great opportunity to sort of let people know about the project and build a community around the project before we even start shooting. So I hate to use the word audience because I want to use the word community, because it's I feel all of these stories, especially as black women, are stories that we can relate to when we want to see ourselves fully represented on screen. So we're building a community around this project before we even shoot. So when it's in theaters, word will spread. You'll tell their friends. their friends will tell their friends. And by everyone contributing to something like Kickstarter, they already feel involved and a part of the project because, your $10, your $30 are actually helping us to get this project made.
No, that's amazing. And I already made my contribution. So if you guys are watching and you're excited for Kickstarter for this project, make sure you go to Kickstarter and make a donation. Now, you mentioned earlier that New Orleans is a central character in the film. Tell us why New Orleans is a great backdrop, or not even a backdrop, but why it makes the perfect sort of additional character for this film.
Yeah, I mean, well, part of it is it being where myself and Lauren live, and Lauren being from, but also there's a lot of opportunities to tell a story that hasn't really been told before, and I think that was really interesting to us. And then visually, New Orleans is gorgeous and hasn't really been filmed in a way that I think that will show it. So that was an exciting opportunity as a director, just to kind of think about how we can really make this film be kind of gorgeous. Like I was thinking of Do the Right Thing, and though it's a very different kind of film, you think about how Bed-Stuy is such a big character of that film, and affects sort of the look, and I think we're looking and hoping to do something similar with Paper Chase. And, we also have a community of people here who will be behind us and will help us make this movie at a really low budget. Like filming here, people are just really into it, and people are going to just like let us film all these different places for free, which is also, well, I'm just saying that, but it's going to happen, which is also exciting as well. Lauren, do you have any other thoughts I didn't say about that?
Yeah, and I also think, setting the film in New Orleans, a really important thing about Paper Chase is we'd like to tackle big issues through a comedic lens, and I feel like New Orleans is a rapidly changing city, so we deal with issues in the film like gentrification and class, and I mean, while these are happening every major city in the country, like New Orleans is a good place to like pinpoint it because, the way that our gentrification happened was through Katrina, so we're tackling like all of these issues, but we're using humor to talk about really big important subjects, so it's like, issues of like STEM, Alicia's involved in robotics. So just like all of these important issues that I feel that are part of my Black identity, and New Orleans being one of them, we want to showcase on film.
So just from a purely let the folks know exactly what your sort of crowdfunding donations go to, can you tell us how you plan to leverage the Kickstarter money that you're raising?
Yeah, I mean, the money is going to go directly towards production. So, crew, food, location, like everything in terms of the shoot, the money's going to go directly towards that. And then, we are in talks with some investors who are going to come in and sort of match those funds, and together we'll use that money to film in the summer. So honestly, this money is really, really important for us to get the additional money that we need to finish the film.
Thank you for sharing that. And what I have learned is that really your movement is bigger than just one film, as groundbreaking as Paper Chase is going to be. Can you tell us a little bit more about Create in Color and what that means for storytellers in the business?
Yeah, so Create in Color is a movement that we've started around the film to highlight other creatives of color. One of the things that Angela and I both are really passionate about is seeing representation in front of the camera, behind the camera, seeing representation just across the arts. Like, we all know that there are amazing people of color who are doing some like fantastic work, but aren't getting any shine. So it's like we are using our platform to shine a light on other creatives of color. And like, let's change the conversation. Like when we're talking about like top directors, let's mention people like Ava DuVernay. Like when we're talking about graphic designers, like let's mention people like our friend Justin Shields, who's amazing and did all of our work, like let's change this conversation and not just mention like cis white men. There's so many creatives of color who are doing phenomenal work, and let's highlight them, So we're hoping that, this movement sparks a change. I think a lot of people, Spike Lee gave a really amazing Oscar speech yesterday when he won his Oscar. If you haven't seen it, people watching, like, definitely go and watch it. And he calls for diversity and how you have to demand it, and you have to use your platforms to demand more representation and diversity. So this is us doing that.
Yeah, and our whole crew are basically people of color. I mean, it's so funny. I was just thinking about it, but everyone in kind of a position of power in our film is a person of color. So, and that was really, by design, in terms of wanting to create a set and a space that people of color can work together and make work, and we can make work about our identity and about ourselves. So, yeah, I mean, so we're excited to use the Create Color platform to bring attention to also a lot of people who are working on this project. Oh no, Imani?
Imani? I think you froze. Well, since it's paused, I guess, and this is still on recording, I'm going to talk about our amazing Kickstarter rewards. Mm-hmm. So, while we work through technical difficulties, one of the great things about Kickstarter is that, you get to support and help this project get made, but you also get rewards in return. So we have great things from a soundtrack to computer decals to our Creating Color tote bag. Hey, Imani, you're back. I was just using the time to talk about our Kickstarter rewards, and it's off air.
I am back, and I'm actually wondering if this is going to then be broken into 2 broadcasts, because I actually started this. So sorry about that.
Is that live, though?
I think it's still going.
Really?
Yeah, it still says live. This happened to me on another Google Hangout I was on, and you don't even notice it. I mean, now.
Okay, well, I am excited to get back with you guys, and thank you for talking about all the amazing swag that people can get from your Kickstarter campaign. I mean, I got my eyes on my prize, so.
Yes. Yes, Imani, yes.
So, ultimately, we were actually getting to the end of my questions, and I wanted to know if there's anything that you guys want the audience to know about this film. I mean, Tribe Called Curl is basically a community of women of color that maybe I haven't asked you specifically.
Well, one thing I want to say is just, Kickstarter is an all or nothing campaign, so if we don't raise everything, we won't get any of it. So we just kind of want to be clear that that's the case. So we need to raise, our $50,000. And, we chose Kickstarter, like we said earlier, we're really trying to build a community around this project. And we know that the more people who are involved, I mean, people who give, we're as excited when people give $1 as we are when people give $100. So the more people, the more backers we have, the bigger community that we have who will see the film and help spread the word. So I know sometimes you see these campaigns and you're like, oh, I can't really contribute that much, but we are really trying to build a community. So whatever you can give, however you can spread the word is really helpful.
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right around that. And I also know you are somebody who puts your money where your mouth is. Like, you've contributed to a number of Kickstarter campaigns. Why is it so important to you to support crowdfunding efforts when it comes to the arts?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, I don't even know how many. I was like 50, 60, I don't know. And I am not rich, friends. So I'm like, oh, well, she's got money. I do not. Student loans abound. Oh,
you on that indie filmmaker life. You about that life.
Yeah, exactly. My Salvation Army chair, folks. I think it's really, really important to support people who are trying to tell stories that just like underrepresented stories. And, one of the great things about crowdfunding is that that's how a lot of these films come to life now. I mean, you think about how many films have benefited from it, like the Dear White Peoples of the world. I mean, that movie happened because of, doing a crowdfunding campaign and leveraging that into other people getting involved. So I think it's really important to, support artists who are doing things that are important to you. And also, I actually really like getting the updates and seeing the progress. Like, I gave to Dear White People, and I feel like you know, I was like a part of it, even though I wasn't a part of it, you know, and I gave like $10 and I kept like getting updates and seeing what was happening. It was really exciting. So I actually really like that part of it a lot. That's a big part of it for me as well.
You know what? I think you were a part of it. I mean, anyone who donates to a cause like that has a piece of ownership. So I completely agree with you. And when you were talking, I immediately thought about Spike Lee and his start. I read somewhere that to get his first movie made, he actually sold T-shirts. So crowdfunding as a concept has existed for decades in our community, and we've always had to support our own to get our content made.
Yeah.
So you guys reaching out to the community that, you know, this film is essentially a love letter to, showing the support and sisterhood of Black women in a comedic context that we don't really see, is amazing. And I wish you all the best in terms of the support.
Thank you so much.
So guys, that is all with these amazing women. I am so excited about this project. Tribe Called Curl is honored to be a media partner for this Kickstarter campaign, and we need you guys to look into your hearts, check out this project, donate, and help spread the word, because our stories matter, our lives matter, and we need to see more of ourselves on screen, more diverse representations. This is exactly the kind of answer to the call that a Viola Davis made when she accepted her Emmy. And if we don't support our filmmakers and our stories, who will? So I want to say thank you. Special thank you to Lauren and Angela, and give you guys the floor for any last words.
I mean, you said everything that's in my heart so perfectly just now that, like, I am just, like, super touched, and I just don't have any words to say. Like, you said it all just then. And it just means so much that when people, like, understand what we're trying to do and, like, how important it is. Like, it is important to see someone who looks like you on screen. Like, it validates you. And I just think that, yeah, like, if people watching, if you have $1 to give, if you can just share it on your social media and that's all you can do, like, that goes such a long way. And we just, like, we appreciate you and thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, ladies, for your time. I am so excited for your project. This is really, it's for me, but it's really for the Angelas and Laurens and Imanis coming up, so that they know that as teenage Black girls, their stories are valid. I am so proud to be a supporter, and I hope that the rest of the Tribe Called Curl family will support this film too. Until next time, guys, take care.
Thanks.
Bye.